Hi there, I'm Phil Binks. Today I'm going to show you the abilities of Adobe Premiere Rush as a webcam and camera used within Ecamm Live. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. So Adobe have a product called Adobe Premiere Rush, and that is a video editing application that's both available on the iPhone, iPad, Android devices, and there's a desktop app as well for PC and Mac. Of course, we're only interested in the Mac version here, and this only works with Ecamm on the iOS devices. Of course, they work naturally with the Mac. Just to give you an example of the kind of quality change that you're likely to be able to see, here is the version through an iPad. So this is the version of the screen through the iPad, and just using that as a camera. This is the front facing screen, so you'd potentially get a much better result from the rear facing camera if you were filming something. And here is the version that you would see from the rear facing camera on the iPhone. I'm just recording the back end of my cat just here. I'll just remove my picture-in-picture just to give you a fuller opportunity. So there you are. That kind of gives you an idea of the quality that you'll get using the Premiere Rush application, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, I've just switched over to screen share to give you an idea of the website for Adobe. So it says here the ways to get Premiere Rush. This is just if you search for Adobe Rush on any browser, it will take you to Adobe's website, and it says here Premiere Rush free starter plan. The fact you can actually get this feature free. The free starter plan limits you to 3 exported videos and 2 gigs of cloud storage. For what I'm showing you, we are only using the camera features, so this is irrelevant to you. However, if you decide you want to start using the other great features of Rush, and I'm not going to go into those here, then that's up to you, and you can. But this feature that I'm showing you is essentially available for free at the moment. So what you would normally do is you would go onto your iOS device, go to the App Store and search for Adobe Premiere Rush, download it and just install it. One thing that will happen is that Adobe will ask you to give them your registration details, an email for instance, but that's about it. So the other thing that I can say is that if you are already a Premiere Pro user inside an Adobe Creative Cloud plan, then Adobe Premiere Rush is already included. So once you've downloaded the Adobe Premiere Rush app, you'll need to launch it and start the camera. So I'll just show you how to do that on my iPhone. You see the Adobe Premiere Rush icon. Just tap that, of course. That launches the application and shows you any video footage that you've got within a project in the system. This is not what we're here for. We are here to click the plus button at the bottom of the screen. That then allows you to go to the take a video or photo and just tap that. And that then launches your film video application. Let me just switch the screen to the front, and so here I am speaking to you using the iPhone with Adobe Premiere Rush. So let me show you the Premiere Rush app controls so that you can find out how to get this kind of result. So the image that you see on the screen is probably not what you want to be showing in Ecamm or any other live streaming application. What I've got, of course, is a grid line which can help you with your leveling up. That is a feature that you can just turn off. There's a button at the top which is the cross, like a crossword grid in blue at the moment. You simply touch that to turn that off, touch it again, comes back on. We've got various lighting settings which we won't be using in our application at all, I'm sure. But down below at the bottom of the screen, you see on the iPad there is a set of other controls which you're probably very used to seeing in other apps like Filmic Pro. The first one is your exposure control, and I can set the ISO and shutter speed, and these will have an effect on your exposure. You can of course click on the auto exposure button and it will work that out for you. But if you want to set a particular shutter speed, and then you can slide the ISO slider along to get the balance of exposure just the way you want it. Of course, again, as I said, you've got the auto exposure button. If I hit that, it will just reset and automatically expose. There's also a button which has got a plus or a minus in it, which is our exposure bias, and it does a similar thing. And you can slide the exposure bias left or right, and you can see the change that it has and the amount of control that you've got on the screen. Double tapping it zeroes it, and that's true for all of the buttons. It's a very Adobe like. The next slider along is your white balance control. Now your white balance control is automatic at the moment, is turned on there. If I turn that off, then we are fully able to completely change the white balance of the settings that are on our iOS device. So I can slide the temperature slider at the top to the left, and that will make things very blue, and slide it along to the right, and we get a completely yellow result. And similarly, I can do the tint values, so we can go green. If I just move the other one to the bottom, we can go green or completely magenta, and any mix of those that you want. So if you wanted some weird effect whilst you were videoing, then fine, but obviously it gives you the ability to adjust the white balance should the camera not be getting that right. If I hit the auto white balance button again, you'll see that the sliders automatically slide back into position until it thinks that it's got it right, and in most situations I think this does a very, very good job. Okay, we've also got a zoom function here, so there's a little plus button that allows me to zoom in and out smoothly if I want to. I can also pinch and squeeze and pinch on the iOS device screen if I want to do that as well, fairly typical iOS control. Now, I'm using the front-facing camera on the iPad right now, and it limits me to a best of 720p, and I'm using 30 frames a second at the moment, but of course I've got the option to go up to 60. If I very quickly go to the rear screen camera, which is the button at the top right up there, the switcher button, you'll see not a very good picture because it's just filmed, but you see that I've also got a 1080 and even a 4K rate, and those give me a different range of shutter speed should I want those. So of course the rear camera is far better for quality. However, I'm going to switch back to the front screen because I want to talk to you. And now what I want to also show you is that you have, very similarly to Filmic Pro, you've got round circle which adjusts the exposure automatically. So wherever I put that on the screen, it will adjust the exposure. If I'm happy with the exposure that's given me in a particular area, the same as Filmic Pro, you just touch it and it becomes a locked icon. You see the little lock sign inside it. So then that will stay true. If I move it even into a bright area, nothing changes. This is also true if I move into any of the adjustment settings and move those along. They do not affect the exposure because we've locked that exposure. Okay. The great thing is I can now slide that all the way off to one side of the screen. It's still visible, but it's kind of to the right hand side of the record button that you would normally use if you were using this for filming or taking photographs. So of course the trick now in Ecamm is to zoom in. So I'm going to now switch to the live demo mode. That's the camera I'm pointing at there. What we would do is we would just use the zoom and pan function, and I found that if we zoom to about 30 on my iPad Pro, that allows me to completely hide the controls, and I've even got a little bit of wiggle room. The iPad Pro icon here is just an Ecamm feature just to show that I'm actually using the iPad Pro right now. It's not built into the picture. So from there you see it's a very good image, I think, and makes your iPad a totally usable second webcam or external camera. Let's see how it looks on an iPhone. So here is Adobe Premiere Rush on my iPhone 8, the front-facing camera, so I can see the full screen and all of the controls. And I'm going to show you the controls right now. So with the front-facing camera showing, we can see a lot more controls. They're actually on the screen on the iPhone 8, whereas they're actually off-screen because of the dimensions of an iPad. So that can make the iPad better to use because it's easier to hide them. However, it's still possible, as you've seen earlier, to just hide these icons by zooming in Ecamm. The icons are the same. One thing I want to show you is the exposure icon. So that is locked at the moment, and on the front-facing camera, this is the only control that you've got. If I were to move to the rear-facing camera, which I'll do in a second, you'll see that you've also got a focus lock. So this round icon is an exposure lock. On the rear-facing cameras of both the iPad and the iPhone, you get a focus lock as well if you want to lock focus rather than for the device to use its own autofocus modes. And what we do, of course, is we move this focus lock off screen and then we zoom in using Ecamm's controls to hide all of the paraphernalia on your screen. You can, however, if you want to, touch the auto button. It actually removes the icons at the bottom and potentially gives you a little bit more screen space. However, that does then mean that you're in auto mode for exposure. However, auto mode seems to be pretty good. Again, what I'll do is I'll switch into live demo mode and show you how we do that. So here we are in live demo mode, and all I do is go to the zoom and pan function and I zoom out, and I reckon about 16 or 17 on here allows you to completely hide the controls. And here we have a completely clean screen with a locked exposure. However, if I still want to change the exposure, I can unlock it and make those changes live and then lock the screen. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and learned a little bit more about the opportunities that Adobe Premiere Rush offers you. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to making some more videos to help you in the future. Bye for now.